Hello everyone, we're here to show off the Bureau XCOM Declassified, and you're watching Connected Digital World.
Hi, Andrew from Connected Digital World here. I recently visited 2K Marin Studios in San Francisco to take a look at the Bureau XCOM Declassified. While I was at the studio, I got to see a lot more of the game and also talk to various people who were involved in its creation. In this interview, we talked to Morgan Gray, who's the creative director on the Bureau XCOM Declassified. In the second part, we continued to talk to Morgan about the Bureau XCOM Declassified. Enjoy.
So obviously, as you mentioned consoles, we're coming to the end of the current generation console cycle. Have you guys found it quite difficult, because obviously PlayStation 3 and Xbox have been around now for quite a number of years, and now you've got very, very high-end PCs that can be built relatively affordable. Do you find it difficult actually still producing console content versus PC content? And what are the differences, if there are any, between the console versions and the PC version of Bureau?
So the difficulty of developing across multiple platforms is the difficulty of trying to embrace the concept of what's the common denominator across them all. PC is the PC is king, and it's king for one fundamental reason: memory. Like having 12, 16, 32 gigs of RAM, it's pretty easy to load a lot of worlds in real time. The consoles are much more choked and starved of this generation of memory. They're having more of the next generation, but it's still PC's advantage. So that is like the biggest technical hurdle across all of them. I think, the advantage being this generation of PCs, especially PC's price point, it's never been a better time to be a gamer, because the devices are just more available, there's more access, there's more avenues for players to find games, play them, consume them, love them. Across the consoles and the PC, the major differences between them are primarily on the PC's aspect, and the PC gets advantage because of its more memory of like enhanced texture resolution, higher fidelity particle systems, physics systems on top of those, these sorts of, you have a crazy screaming GPU and a lot of RAM, we can pump the fidelity that much further. From a playable standpoint, we try to keep the experiences pretty much identical across the board. You'll be dealing with the minor differences of input, whether it's a DualShock versus the Xbox controller or a keyboard and mouse for the PC. The playable experience should be quite similar, but the fidelity, the small vocal minority that will always say PC's the best, they are accurate in terms of the PC's ability to spit out screaming graphics is still unparalleled.
So obviously we've talked about how long the game's been in development, and obviously it's gone through a significant amount of change and iteration, and we've seen that this morning. Is there anything you guys wanted to do but just couldn't do or couldn't fit into the game, either because of time or just don't have the capabilities on the systems that you're producing on at the moment?
We followed our charter to tell a directed narrative experience, which means sort of hand-scripted, hand-created content that can deliver the gameplay highs and lows, all supplemented with narrative. For a while, we were trying to play with a good system to make systemically generated missions that could actually sort of emulate the aspects of the classic XCOM, where missions would be created on the fly with no narrative, because it's hard to have a computer tell stories, but there would be playable experiences that supplemented out the campaign. I think that's one of the things I wish we would have had more time to explore that further and find even more ways sort of to fulfill on that promise of the XCOM franchise. That being said, what replaced that is, I think for the first time, very well written, paced, in-depth, crunchy, a campaign where you come in with your viewpoint character William Carter, and you feel like you play a part in the game's ultimate story, its resolution, and you've left your mark in a way that I think is unique to the XCOM franchise. So, our loss of systemically generated content comes from the humongous gain of going against our creative charter, which is you're gonna have a story here that is pretty significant, and I think based on our experience with, say, BioShock 2 or Minerva's Den, we're kind of known for telling engaging narratives that are a little more cerebral and a little less base, that I think a lot of players are going to really, really enjoy. The other obvious one would be, we spent a lot of time trying to find this quality single player focus, expression, and a unique perspective. It would have been fun to find more ways to play with multiplayer aspects, whether they be adversarial or cooperative.
Okay. So there's obviously a story campaign mode, and there's also side missions. if the player doesn't want to play the side missions, are they going to obviously miss out on anything story related, or is it just additional content?
Every side mission is its own micro story, and some of the stories within the side missions, I would say, are our opportunity to tell something very unique, very clever. There's I don't want to give spoilers, but there's a lot of amazing little moments, much like in a TV series where you'd have your main through line, but you have the occasional one-off episode that's just fun in its own right. The X-Files, for example, the smoking aliens in X-Files, like that is not tied into the greater picture, but it was a fun experience. Those sort of narratives are throughout all the side missions. I think players would miss out on that. From a gameplay perspective, they're also a great opportunity to round out with experience points Carter and his squad of agents, like level up abilities and rank abilities, so you actually will diminish your capabilities to beat the game. With permadeath being an aspect of the campaign where agents can actually die and they're gone forever, not having a large number of varied agents on your roster is really a handicap in the later parts of the game. You might lose a couple people that are really important and have nothing but noobs. Very tough to beat the game that way. So I encourage people to consume that content.
Excellent. What were the influences you guys used to come up with the story, other than obviously things like the X-Files?
The X-Files. I mean, there's a lot that influence. So we looked at sort of sci-fi as metaphor and the classic tropes of the period. So we're using different things from like actual Cold War tensions, actual American xenophobia, classic 60s stories from the period. Day the Earth Stood Still, Doctor Strangelove. These as political commentary. These were big influences for us. XCOM universe lore in general. Classic Star Trek episodes from the original series, which was a great series of the time period, and sort of Twilight Zone episodes from that time period were a great way to see how, again, we could use science fiction as metaphor or allegory to what was happening in the real world then and now and have a richer tale. It's also, and sort of the big influences on some of our alien designs come from like the masters, so like the science fiction writing of Asimov, specifically Herbert, with Dune for certain settings, like our enemies, the Outsiders. They bear some resemblance to the Harkonnen, or Harkonnen, depending on how you want to pronounce it, from the Dune series. So we pulled from the greats, and then try to create our original narrative from there.
Great. And the last question then, you recently released information or mentioned code breakers. So
Yes.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, Code Breakers is a great example. It's a pre-order, side mission that people can get access to by pre-ordering the game. It effectively tells, it's a side quest, side mission that tells a small story about a bureau listening post. So you think of the guys that are in the missile rooms, right, hanging back, and you think of the big satellite dishes spread around the world trying to listen in. It is about them. Minor spoilers. It was about them having an incident related to the oncoming alien threat, and Carter and his team coming to find out what has transpired with this group of people in their little listening post.
And it's an Xbox exclusive.
It is an Xbox exclusive.
Excellent. And when's the game out?
The game is out internationally August 23rd.
Great. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Recon flights report anti-aircraft in RLZ. We're gonna have to touch down on the southeast edge of the town. Do we have support down there? Nothing on the ground. Rosemont was hit at the same time as Groom Range. Never saw it coming. Jesus. Clear the AAA first. I won't be able to support you or evac the doctor until it's down. Understood. All right, ready up.
If you missed part 1, you can watch it by clicking on the screen now. Also, if you haven't seen it yet, why not watch the Art of the Bureau interview with art director Jeff Weir by clicking on the screen now. And if you haven't subscribed to us, please click on the button for more interviews, gameplay footage, and lots more.